Hi everyone, and welcome to Get Good at Maths. This is the series where I am taking you through last year's GCSE maths papers from Edexcel. We got up to the question 15. I'm glad there's not 15 pages. Question 15, and we will go through question 16 to 20, and then tomorrow I will upload how to do that tricky segment sector question.
Number 16. A first aid test has two parts, a theory test and a practical test. The probability of passing the theory test is 0.75, and the probability of passing only one of the two parts is 0.36. The two events are independent. All that means is if you pass your theory test, it has no bearing on if you pass your practical test. Work out the probability of passing the practical test. So the way to go about these is by drawing out one of your probability diagrams. It starts off like this. And the first one, we sometimes call these crocodile's mouths. And the rule is they've always got to add up to the number, one. Okay, so we'll label the first one, and it's the theory test. So the theory test, and the probability of passing it is, does it say? 0.75. And I actually prefer dealing in fractions, so I'll put that as not 3/4. So 3/4, and that means the probability of failing it is 1/4. On to the next diagram is the practical test. And we've got passing and failing and passing and failing. So the probability of passing only one test is 0.36. So we don't actually know what the probability of passing your practical test is. So why don't we call passing x, and remember these have to add up to make the number 1. So the probability of failing is going to be 1 minus x, and then x and 1 minus x. And these are your options you can go for. You can go for passing and then passing again, or passing and failing, or failing and then passing, or failing both of them. And we don't know the probability for the practical, but what we do know is the probability of passing one of the two parts is 0.36. So that's passing and then failing. So it's this one here, and failing and then passing, and it's that one there. So if you add these two together, then you'll get the probability of x, and you're actually trying to work out x here. Right, so let's go through this. 3/4 times 1 minus x. Just remember to multiply as you go between the branches. 3/4 times 1 minus x, like this. And then you're going to plus, and then it's 1/4 times x. And then that gives you a probability of 0.36. Multiply them out. 3/4 times 1 for 3/4. 3/4 times minus x for minus 3/4 x. Plus 1/4 x. And that must equal 0.36. I would gather your like terms, so 3/4 stays the same. Minus 3/4 x plus 1/4 x gives you plus 1/2 x, like this, and then that must equal 0.36. 3/4 is 0.75 plus 1/2 x. Oh, sorry, minus 1/2 x, isn't it? Minus 1/2 x equals 0.36, and we're going to add 1/2 x to both sides, and you'll get 0.75 equals 0.36 plus 1/2 x, and then take away 0.36 both sides, and then you'll get so 0.39 equals x over 2, or 1/2 x, and then times both sides by 2 to get rid of the 2 on the bottom, like this, and then you'll get 0.78 as your answer. Number 17. Y is directly proportional to the square root of t. Y equals 15 when t equals 9. T is inversely proportional to the cube of x. T equals 8 when x equals 2. Find a formula for y in terms of x, giving your answer in its simplest form. There are two equations, so I'm going to call this one number 1, and this one could be number 2. Where it says find the formula for y in terms of x, what we're looking for is y equals and then something x. Equation 1, it goes y is directly proportional to the square root of t. So it goes y is proportional to the square root of t. That's equation 1. And that means y equals k root t. We substitute our numbers in. So 15 for y and t for 9. 15 equals k root 9. The square root of 9 is 3. 15 equals 3k. And divide both sides by 3. 5 equals k. Plug it into the formula. You'll get equation number 1, y equals 5 root t. Equation number 2, it says t is inversely proportional to the cube of x. So this says t is proportional. The word inverse means 1 over, and it's the cube of x. So x cubed. We replace the proportional sign with an equal sign. T equals, and when you do that, you've got to make sure you replace the 1 with a k. So it's a different constant, k over x cubed. And what you'll notice are we have two different constants represented by the same letter. So if we call this k1, and then we can call this k2. You substitute your numbers in. T equals 8, x equals 2. So 8 equals k2 over 2 cubed. 8 equals k2 over 8, and that means k2 has to equal 64. Put it back into the equation, which is here. So it's t equals 64 over x cubed. What you'll notice is where it says find the formula in terms of x for y, what that means is you need to eliminate t, and you'll see why in just a sec. So if we make t the subject for both, so this one, we're going to divide both sides by 5, and you'll get y over 5 equals the square root of t. And if you square both sides, you'll get y squared over 25 equals t. If t equals y squared over 25 and t also equals 64 over x cubed, then those two have to be equal to each other. So I would say y squared over 25 equals 64 over x cubed. And as I said before, you're looking to get y next to the equal sign. So we need to eliminate the 25, times both sides by 25. That will cancel out the 25 like this, and the 25 wants to appear at the top. So y squared equals 64 times 25, whatever that is, divided by x cubed. Get rid of your square by square rooting. So y equals the square root of 64 times 25 all over x cubed. And if we do them separately, so get rid of the square symbol by square rooting 64, so he becomes 8, and square rooting the 25, and the 25 becomes 5. And to square root an x cubed, you just put a 2 on the bottom like this. So we would get y equals 8 times 5, which is 40, over x to the power of 3 over 2. Number 18. Work out the value of 5 and 4 ninths to the power of minus a half times 4 and 2/3, all divided by 2 to the power of minus 3. You must show all of your workings. And it looks quite complicated, so let's deal with each part individually first, and then we'll evaluate it at the end. The first bit then, so 5 and 4 ninths to the power of minus a half. 5 and 4 ninths, so we're going to put it as a top-heavy fraction. We go 5 times 9, so you do the front number times the denominator on the top, and then you're going to have to add the additional 4, all divided by 9. 5 times 4 is 45, add the 4, so that's 49 over 9, and then 49 over 9 to the power of minus a half. That minus symbol means find the reciprocal of your number. So it's going to go 9 over 49 to the power of a half. And a half actually means square root. So you're going to square root 9 over 49. The square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 49 is 7. So this makes 3/7. Part 2, 4 and 2/3. 4 and 2/3. So likewise, we do 4 times 3 on the top, add the additional 2, and then it's divided by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 added to 2 is 14, so 14/3. Right, we'll sort out that 2 to the power of minus 3 in just a minute, and then it says multiply them together. So we're going to multiply these two together. 14/3 times 3/7. Now, before you multiply, there is actually a trick you can do. It's called cross-cancelling, where you check vertically and you can also check diagonally to cancel down beforehand. They don't cancel vertically, but they do cancel this way. And 7 and 14, if you divide them both by 7, 7 becomes a 1 and 14 becomes a 2. And then if you divide 3 and 3, divide them both by 3 and you get 1 and 1. So what you've got now is 2 over 1 times 1 over 1. 2 times 1, which just gives you 2. 1 times 1 gives you 1. And then the answer is actually just 2, isn't it? So you'll get 2 on top. It's 2 divided by 2 to the power of minus 3. 2 to the minus 3 means you are going to first flip it, find the reciprocal of 2 because of that minus symbol. So that becomes 1 over 2, and then it's cubed. So you're going to cube 1, which just gives you 1, cube 2, which gives you 8. So this becomes 1/8. So you've got 2 divided by 1/8, like that. Now 2 divided by 1/8 is quite complicated, so I would write it like this. 2 divided by 1/8, like that. Whenever you divide by a fraction, you flip and then multiply. So it's 2 times and then 8 over 1. So the second fraction wants to flip. Find the reciprocal. 2 times 8 gives you 16. You don't multiply the bottom, keep it as a 1, and it's just the answer of 16. Number 19. Solve 1 over 2x minus 1 plus 3 over x minus 1, and that equals 1. And you've got to put it in this format where p and q are both integers, and again that means whole numbers. So I've just written it down, and what I'm going to do first of all is multiply everything by 2x minus 1, and we're going to try to get it all onto one level, so get rid of all these denominators, and it's going to be everything, so every term. When you multiply by 2x minus 1, what happens is it gets rid of this one, and it's going to appear up at the top, so it should look like this. So it should look like this, and then the next one, we're going to multiply everything by x minus 1. And that has the impact of getting rid of this bit here. And so your new and improved equation should be x minus 1 with a 1 in front plus 3 2x minus 1 equals, and then 2x minus 1 x minus 1 like this with a 1 in front. And what happens is, because there's a 1 in front, it doesn't really matter, it just means you're timesing by 1, so you can get rid of those. And I would multiply out your brackets, so x minus 1 stays where he is, plus 3 times 2x gives you 6x, 3 times minus 1 gives you minus 3, equals, and this is a double bracket, so 2x squared, 2 times minus 1 gives you minus 2x, minus 1 times x gives you minus x, minus 1 times minus 1 it gives you plus 1. We'll tidy this bit up here and this bit here. So x plus 6x gives you 7x, minus 1 minus 3 gives you minus 4. and that equals 2x squared minus 2x minus x gives you minus 3x, and we've got the plus 1 like this. We will get everything onto one side of the equal sign, and we'll put it equal to 0. So let's get rid of that minus 4 by adding 4 to both sides, and you'll get 7x equals 2x squared minus 3x. Plus 4 and plus 1 gives you plus 5. And then we're going to get rid of this 7x like this by taking away 7x from both sides. So now we've got 0 equals 2x squared minus 10x plus 5. And you're trying to get it into this format. This tells me I've either got to use the quadratic formula or I've got to use the completing the square method. I think using the quadratic formula would be easier than using completing the square. So the quadratic formula goes like this. It goes minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And the a is the number that's in front of the x squared, so a equals 2. The number that's in front of the x is b, so b equals minus 10. And the number in front on the end is your c there, and that's going to be 5. And it's just about substituting your numbers into the formula. So we're going to go for minus b, so that's going to be minus 10, plus or minus 10 squared, minus, and then 4 times 2 times 5. And then it's all divided by 2a, so it's 2 times 2. Minus 10 is actually just plus 10 because the two negatives make a positive there. And then it's the square root of minus 10 squared is positive 100, minus 4 times 2 for 8, 8 times 5 for 40. And then it's all divided by 4. And that will give you 10 plus or minus the square root of 100 take away 40 is the square root of 60, and we're then going to divide the whole thing by 4. Right, this is saying it wants a 2 on the end, on the bottom there, so we've got to turn that 4 into a 2. You can't just cancel down the 10 and turn that into a 5 and turn that into a 2. It doesn't actually work that way. You've got to do it to both of them, and you can't cancel that 60 down into a 30 either, by the way. So this square root of 60, you would say it's the square root of 2 numbers. One's got to be a square number, so it's 4, isn't it? 4 times 15, and the square root of 4 times the square root of 15 makes 60. The square root of 4 is actually 2, so it's actually 2 root 15. So I would say it's 10 plus or minus 2 root 15 over 4. You can actually cancel down now because you've got factors for both of them. So 10 is going to cancel down with the 4 and make a 5 and a 2. So you're dividing them both by 2, and you have to do it to the 2 as well, and that becomes a 1, which you actually wouldn't write. So this is 5 plus or minus the square root of 15 all over 2. Number 20. The centre of a circle is the point with the coordinate minus 1, 3. The point A, with coordinate 6, 8, lies on the circle. Find an equation of the tangent to the circle at A. Give your answer in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are integers. I would always recommend actually just drawing a sketch for this so we know what's going on. The centre of the circle is minus 1, 3. So that would be minus 1, 3. Look like this. And there's a point on it, 6, 8. So I think it's quite a wide circle. Be like this. And 8 is, I don't know, here. And that would be point A, and this would be the centre. Right, and then it says, Find an equation of the tangent at A. So a tangent is a line that touches like this, and the tangent is always at a right angle to the radius like this. So these should be two right angles. So there's a gradient formula, and we know it's the change in y divided by the change in x. And we have the two coordinates, and it's -1, 3, and 6, 8. And we call the first one, we're going to call this x1 and x2, and this will be our y coordinate 1 and y coordinate 2. So the formula goes like this. It goes y1 minus y2 all over x1 minus x2, and then that gives us our gradient, which the symbol is m for this one. Minus 8 over -1 minus 6. 3 minus 8 is -5, and -1 minus 6 is -7, and two negatives divided by each other is a positive, so that's 5/7. So that's the gradient of the radius. That means the gradient of the tangent. So the tangent gradient, they are always the negative reciprocals. You take 5/7, that's the gradient of the radius. You are going to then flip it, and that becomes 7/5, and then you've got to change the sign from, if it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. So this is the gradient of the tangent. We need the y coordinate, the x coordinate. We've got m, which is -7/5, and then we need our y-axis intercept, which is c. We take the coordinate that it goes through A, which is 6, 8. 6 is the x coordinate, and 8 is the y coordinate. And then the c is the one we don't know. And we plug it into the equation y equals mx plus c. We just put everything in, so 8 for y and 6 for x. And then we're going to times it by -7/5. And then we're going to work out where it goes through our y-axis intercept. Right, so 8 equals -42/5 plus c, and then we're going to add 42/5 to both sides. Yes, c is the subject. So 8 plus 42/5 equals c. 42/5, if you put it as a decimal number, a good way to divide by 5 is to divide by 10 and then times by 2. So divide by 10, you get 4.2, times by 2, you get 8.4 equals c. So that's 16.4 equals c. So that means y equals -7/5 of x plus 16.4. Now that's in the form y equals mx plus c. They actually want it in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. So you've got to get everything onto one side. So that means y plus 7/5 of x minus 16.4 equals 0. Let's write this as decimals so it's a bit easier for us. So y plus 7/5 is 1.4x minus 16.4 equals 0. And this just times everything by 10 to get rid of all those decimal points. So that means 10y equals, 10y plus 14x minus 164 equals 0. And I don't think it says the most simplified form. It just says give it in any old form. So we don't even need to divide anything and cancel it down. We can just leave it as that.
Right, we will make a stop there. Join me tomorrow and I will go through how to do the circle, sector, segment question. That's been having people scratch their heads all across the country and all around the world. So yes, join me tomorrow. We will go through that and yes, we'll see what happens.